Hey, everybody, welcome. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here today. I'm so glad you're here today. So, today's mindset session could shift the way you think about motivation, and it could help you finally take action, even if you don't feel ready. So, tell me where you all are coming in from. I'd love to hear an aha moment that you're having. So, tell me where you're coming in from. I have the comments pulled up. I can see the comments on our business page, LinkedIn, and YouTube. If you're commenting on our pop-up group or our Facebook community, I'll circle back around and look at those in the replays. But let me know who's coming in. So, Glow Buckley is here. Good morning from Texas. Samantha is here. Yes, from the UK. All right, good, good. Who else is here? Who else is here? So let me know. Come on in, and today's mindset session is all about motivation and motivation. I know a lot of people. They'll say, "I need more motivation," right? I need more motivation, and that they believe that that's why they don't have what they want in their lives because they're just not motivated enough, right? So Trish from Southeast Iowa, Crystal is here from Toronto, Ontario, Robin is here from Kansas. So keep telling me who's here. Keep telling me who's here. Now, if that's you, that you feel like you just don't have enough motivation and that's the issue, I have some really good news. All right. The key to a healthy mindset is taking control of your thoughts, right? Sounds simple. And did you guys know that? Like, did you know that you can learn to direct what you think about it? And I'll say it takes practice. It absolutely takes practice, but you can do it. And taking control of my thoughts was one of the biggest turning points for me because I didn't know it was possible until I was in my 40s, like actually closer to 50 was when I started to look at that. And I'd heard about manifestation, I'd heard about meditation, all of that, but it seemed a little woo for me at the time. And I've always been very logical and pragmatic. And so this stuff that I'm about to talk about felt kind of out there at first. Because at that time, I was rooted in what, meaning, what if I thought that if I knew what to do, I could have the success I wanted. And I kept searching for the right steps. I tried everything, but success just seemed to be like one step ahead of me. And here's what else I used to believe. I used to believe that every thought I had and any emotion I felt was the truth. It was the truth. And that following those feelings meant I was being true to myself, that I was following my heart. Can you relate to that? Can you guys relate to that? But the problem with that kind of thinking is that our thoughts end up controlling us, right? Our thoughts end up controlling us, and we live our lives in reaction mode. This happened, I'll react this way. And it's interesting. I really did spend most of my life like that. And I was when I first found out that I could control my thoughts, it was not a happy moment because it just seemed so difficult. But now it's something that really brings me pleasure. Right. And Shabir says, evening from India. So I'm glad you're here. Come on in. So let me know if you've ever felt like that, that what you think and your emotions are the truth, and that to be true to yourself, you need to honor those. Now, here's how this all kind of started for me. In 2003, my dad passed away. He was 69, and he'd been sick for a year with cancer. And I have to say that was the longest year, or actually it was kind of interesting. It was the longest and the fastest year of my life. It seemed like it happened so fast, but it was kind of in slow motion because I felt like with every treatment, he was going to get better. There were 4 major things that happened. And, when the first one happened, I'm like, okay, we handled that, and then the next one. But the cancer returned each time, and it got a little worse until there was really nothing to do. And when he passed, I had a lot of questions and a lot of thoughts I couldn't resolve. And so I turned to reading personal development books, and I heard about the power of learning to manage one's thoughts. So that was, that was 22 years ago. And I read books like Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I read books by Bob Proctor, Jack Canfield, Abraham Hicks, and a lot of others. Then in 2006, The Secret was published. Have you guys heard of The Secret? It was a book that popularized a lot of this mindset work that I was so interested in. And I started to pay attention to my thoughts. And what I was surprised at was how negative they were. How prone I was to look for problems and how much I complained. I was complaining about everything. And what surprised me was I always thought of myself as being an upbeat person, right? Um, I used phrases like have to instead of get to. I used the word should all the time. And I was shaming myself by putting myself down all day long. And I had no idea I was doing this. But here's the thing, that kind of language drains your energy. It makes you feel like everything is a burden instead of a choice. Because if you're telling yourself you have to do this or you should be better at it by now, it's no wonder that you feel unmotivated. Because how we talk to ourselves matters, because your words shape your mindset and your mindset drives your actions. Can you see that? Now, we all have negative thoughts every single day, and you're not alone and you're not different when it comes to this. But if you want to create real change and build the life you dream about, you have to learn how to manage those thoughts. Now, I mentioned Thursday morning that business success is 20% strategy and 80% mindset, because the strategies won't work if your mindset isn't aligned with them. So I want to work on that today while we're together. Okay, so let's start with the definition of motivation. All right, motivation is an internal process, right? Whether we define it as drive or need, motivation is something inside us that wants a change. And it's either a change in ourselves or the conditions around us. And when we are motivated, we take action, right? But what if we don't? Is it because we don't have enough? Most people think it's motivation that sparks everything getting going. But the truth is that motivation follows action. It doesn't lead it. So waiting to feel ready is what keeps most people stuck. Has that happened to you? It's definitely happened to me. So when we're so if you're thinking about becoming a virtual assistant, maybe you've downloaded the freebies, you've done the research, you've joined this training, but you haven't fully taken the leap. You're waiting for motivation or you're waiting for confidence. Maybe you're waiting for life to calm down, and what's missing isn't motivation. It's clarity. A clear what and a strong why, saying so when you say I want to start a VA business, that keeps it really vague, right? But saying I am building a virtual assistant business so I can leave my job and work from home. Do you see the difference? That makes it real. That clarity creates momentum. And once you take the first step, motivation catches up. It's a shift from want to decide. And that shift is everything. Because motivation fades, willpower fades, but a decision backed up by systems keeps you going. It's that decision that anchors you in. So during these training sessions, I want to help you make your next decision about your future as a virtual assistant. You don't need to feel confident every day. In fact, that would be impossible. And you don't need to have all the answers. What you need is a decision and a system to back it up. So tell me in the chat, what's your why? Why do you want to be a virtual assistant? Why do you want to be a virtual assistant? And if you're stuck, try finishing this sentence. I want to become a virtual assistant so that. Go ahead and put that in the chat for me. This is your anchor. This is your why. This is what's going to steady you when self-doubt shows up. All right. Why do you want to become a virtual assistant? My Yeti is leaky. Put it in the chat. Now, I decided to build a successful virtual assistant business so I could have time flexibility to be with my daughter, and I wanted to be in control of how much money I made. I wanted the amount of effort that I made to be correlated with dollars. Because you can work really hard in a 9-to-5 job, and you still make the same amount of money. And you can have a coworker who's a slacker who's making the same amount of money, right? I wanted that effort to be tied to income. So Robin says freedom and control of my time and income. Yeah, I think that's common. Right? So tell me in the chat what you want. Yeah, Make It Do says, I want to be able to help contribute financially to my family as well as be available to them. Yeah, and Gemma says, so that I can have financial freedom. Yes. It's amazing when, I did a video a couple days ago on, no one questions having a job. No one questions having a job. Everybody questions when you start your own business. You're like, what are you doing? What are you thinking about? But to look back now after I've been in business as a VA for 15 years and to think about what my life looked like back then and what it looks like now, I can't imagine going back to the 9 to 5. My husband leaves every morning to go to his job. And I just think, oh my gosh, like he's sitting in a room with people watching him. He's doing work. I think he enjoys the work, but he doesn't guide or direct his days. That's really different. Yeah. It's really different. So Chiku says to have flexibility to work anywhere in the world and create financial security and freedom. Yeah, let's see. We're having a little. Okay, I'm just putting one of our users in a timeout. Okay. So, all right. So this is important, and I want you to write it down. I want you to write it down because when your thoughts spiral, when you feel discouraged, when you're tempted to quit, that why is going to bring you back. All right, hold on. I'm just going to manage some craziness that's happening in the chat. Okay, so I think that will do it. Hold on. Yeah. Okay. All right, good. Now I want to show you something important. Okay. So this Post-it right here, it says April 2024, living in our, what does it say? Living in our new home. Okay. Living in our new home. Now I wrote that on a Post-it when it felt impossible. I think I wrote it. I wish I knew when I wrote it. I think I wrote it in 2022, late 2022. And I put it on my computer. I put it right on my computer, and I had no idea how I was going to get there. No idea how I was going to get there, but I made decisions as if it were possible. One by one, things fell into place. I mean, it's kind of funny. We even would go to estate sales and buy, I wanted a farmhouse, which is what we have, and I would I would see a rocking chair that did not fit in our current house at all, and I would say, yeah, in my mind, I was think I'm buying this for our farmhouse. I'm buying this for our farmhouse. And so many things aligned over time, but I really had to look for them. I really had to look for them. And I wasn't furnishing the house we lived in, although it needed some help. I was really focusing on what was next. And so one by one, things fell into place, and I'll be, and we moved into our house. We closed on January 29th, 2024. And there was a lot of things that had to happen, a lot of things. My husband wasn't even on board to move back then. He was still saying in 2022, in 5 years, in 5 years, in 5 years. And then he turned 63. And I looked at him and I said, okay, are we really moving when we're 68? Is that what we're doing? And he got on board, but we both had our processes we needed to go through. There were credit scores to be repaired and family members to be handled and student loans to be paid off for the kids and a house to be sold, all of these things. And every time one of those things happened, I just thought it was almost like those locks, that you turn the barrels. It was like click, another one, click, another one. And I don't know how many clicks there were, but a lot, like 50 clicks. So I made that decision, and that's how you do it as well. Okay. Now I want to talk about feelings. Okay. I want to talk about feelings. We've all heard the phrase, it's important to have your feelings, right? And I agree with that 100%. Okay. Now what I don't do though, is I don't let my feelings make decisions for me. Feelings are data. They are not directions. And we often wait for our feelings to line up before we take action. But the truth is you don't need to feel confident to take the next step. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need to feel willing. You can feel nervous and still show up, right? And you can feel unsure and make the call. You can feel overwhelmed and go for it, right? And Cheryl says perseverance. That's right. Now, here's a simple example about making decisions about your feelings. Okay, so let's say you're in traffic and someone cuts you off. You can react with rage, right? Honk your horn, scream, flip them off, whatever. Or you can assume they're rushing to the ER. The story you choose creates your reality, right? And the same goes for business, okay? When self-doubt creeps in, you can give it power, or you can give yourself grace and you can keep going. When you're overwhelmed, you can remember you don't need to do everything right now. You just need to do the next thing, right? So I have a mindset minute assignment for you today. I want you to get crystal clear on what you want and why. I want you to write it down and put it someplace visible. Spend a few minutes with it, and then take one step forward. One of my small steps when I started this quest to move to Virginia was I went to AAA and I got a map of Virginia. And I started to look at the different towns in Virginia, not picking one, but just like, okay. And then every time we came to Virginia to visit my daughter in school, I said to Greg, let's look at this area. Let's look at this area. And that's exactly how we found our house. All right. So keep in mind, you don't need confidence to get started. You just need courage, right? Courage is showing up before you're ready. Courage is taking the next step, even if you're uncertain. And courage is saying, I do not have it figured out, but I'm doing it anyway. Okay. So really take a second to tell me in the chat, what is one small courageous step you can make today? It could be printing out your workbook. It could be committing to coming to the training, or it could be saying just out loud to yourself, I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I'm going to make this happen. So let's anchor that in. Okay, let's anchor that in. Now, before we wrap up, I've got a quick announcement. If you want to go even deeper with this training, I want you to check out the VIP experience. All right. We've already got about 55 people signed up. And here's what you get. It's $17. Okay, $17 one-time payment. You get coaching sessions with me today and Thursday. We had a coaching session. It's a small group coaching session. There are about 15 people there. We had one last week. On Thursday, you'll get that recording. You get lifetime access to all of these trainings. So you get all of the recordings for the mindset minutes, for the VA Business Launchpad trainings, for the VIP experience, and also for the Launchpad and action sessions, okay? You also get a resource library. There are 5 in-depth training guides to help you get started, and my VIP template bundle, which includes tools like my revenue calculator, which we're going to go into great detail on Thursday, and a discovery call guide, all right? So you can sign up through tomorrow. Just head over to VAVIPexperience.com, VAVIPexperience.com, and sign up, okay? And speaking of what's next, at noon today, I'm going to teach you how to start spreading the word about your services in a way that feels natural and aligned, okay? You're going to learn how to talk about your business with confidence, without feeling awkward, and no pressure. All right, I am the anti-salesperson. I do not like sales, and I'm going to teach you how to talk about it so that it just rolls off your tongue. All right, and this is where we're going to start to really dig into the client attraction system, and I don't want you to miss it. Then tomorrow at 3, we're going to go live for the Launchpad in Action session. This is a brand new idea that I had. We did it on Thursday. I think it was amazing. People really jumped in and shared. And what we'll do in that session is we'll review what we learned in today's session at noon. We're going to look at examples of the homework and answer your questions. All right. And then we're going to pick winners to celebrate the people who did the homework. Okay. You guys are doing great. You've got this. Now take a deep breath. You're showing up, and that matters more than you know. Now let's go make something incredible happen, all right? And in case no one's reminded you today, being a virtual assistant is the smartest way to make consistent income working from home, and you are already on the path, all right? Bye for now.